Everything look right?
What's the weather over there?
It's nice. We're supposed to have like 80s all week. So,
Oh, no complaints there.
what about you?
I like 60s,
Somewhere?
70s. Yeah, it's slowly but surely starting to warm up.
Hmm.
Are you are you going to Jersey for the Scots conference?
Never. I haven't heard of it. Haven't heard of it.
Oh, yeah, he was posting about it on Twitter. You're not big on Twitter, are you?
No, not really. I go on sometimes, but yeah, I
Yeah.
don't really pay attention too much.
Yeah. Yeah, he's doing like a wholesale conference in New Jersey. I think it's called like AMZ United, something like that. Um, it should be interesting. Roddy Rich, what's going on, big dog?
When is it? You said?
It's the week after Vegas, week after ASD in
Oh,
Vegas. So it's
gotcha.
like I
Gotcha.
think it's actually Labor Day weekend, which is slightly unfortunate, but it's whatever.
We'll see. We'll see.
What's up? What's up? Chris Andrews,
Price tank.
James,
It's not us.
James,
Not us.
Race Tankers in the house. What's the best bolo groups? I don't really know of many bolo groups. Actually, I do know. ACflips' bolo group is good. He's really the only one that I know about, and I know Casey. He's a good dude, so that's the one I'd probably recommend. I'm getting you his Casey.
Yeah, I don't really. I don't think I've ever used a bolo group or a leads list or anything like that.
Leads list. I know OA Dave. OA Dave or OA Deals.
Oh, wait,
That's
deals.
what his
Yeah,
name
yeah.
is. He has leads lists, and he's been doing leads lists for a while. So they have to be, I would assume, decently productive and successful, else he wouldn't still be obviously doing them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the one that I'm familiar with.
You guys got any questions? Drop it in the chat. Here to answer. You like the zoomed in view better, or should we keep it out? Let's keep it out.
He's a bill group for the first year of selling on Amazon. Roddy, were you in oh yeah, you were in what's it, Carter Maxwell's group back in the day. I think that's how I met Rodriguez.
Huh.
What's the best software to track profit? I think Inventory Lab and Seller Board are trash. So I just recently switched to Seller Board and I love it. What exactly about either one of those do you not like? I mean, because I think Seller Board is like pretty detailed in the things that it reports and tracks and gives some pretty good inventory metrics. So I like it.
Yeah, I started using Sellerboard too recently, and still learning how to like understand the replen side of things. But for yeah, like real time profit tracking and stuff, it's kind of nice to see like, oh, I sold this many items today. I got a couple returns. Here's kind of your projected profit for the day. So customer service wasn't good, which both of them, or just one or the other. I mean, if Sellerboard comes out with like a product send to Amazon feature, I think they're gonna one because they're so much cheaper, and I think that basically then they rival Inventory Lab pretty well. So I think a lot of people would probably switch over if they had that feature.
I didn't care for the customer service. Yeah, I mean that's such a minor thing though. Yeah. Do you guys do any grocery best tips on sourcing it besides reverse? So, in my opinion, grocery with online arbitrage is going to be very tough, right? Because you think about a lot of the stuff that you're going to pick up from retail sites, you're going to be competing most of the time with wholesalers. And so that's always going to be the kind of perpetual battle that you face with grocery specific. Um, and so with that being said, granted, there's tons and tons of opportunity with wholesale in grocery. Easy as some Googling How I do, looking for suppliers for wholesale is sort of like 3 keyword mechanism, right? So it starts with like the category you're searching in. So in this case, grocery. Second word would be like your volume identifier, right? So grocery, bulk, and then a city or state that's relatively close to you. So in my case, I live, in Southeast Pennsylvania, so I can do grocery, bulk, Philly, grocery wholesale Philly, grocery supplier Philly. And believe it or not, each of those 3 searches and Google are going to bring back a different set of companies that you can reach out to and call and email and et cetera, et cetera. Right. So based on Google's SEO, each of those identifiers are going to be different. You can use grocery vendor. And then what you could even do, right, is once you go through all the hundreds of hits that you're going to get from going through each and every volume identifier, you can switch up the location, right? So whether it be if I go from Philadelphia to Pennsylvania, or I go from Philadelphia to southeastern Pennsylvania, or I go from Philadelphia to maybe Lancaster, which is another bigger city around, or New Jersey, or New York, or Delaware, or Wilmington, right? So there's infinite amounts of ways that you can do these searches, and each of them are going to bring back a ton of different companies that you can reach out to via email, phone, obviously if you can drive up to them, right? So suppliers, leads, people to reach out to is never going to be the issue. If you just use that sort of 3-phrase search criteria, you're going to have tons of success in terms of reaching out to them.
And like on the OA side of things, like I haven't found a ton of grocery products, but the few that I have found they're not crazy margin, but it definitely looks like it's more of a, it's not really a wholesale type product where, there's still 10 to 20 sellers in the listing. Margins are, 30 to 38%, or the ROI, I should say. The groceries, yeah, I mean, the prices are pretty steady for the most part. But it's also, you're not going to find those home run, 80% ROI sub 10K rank unless you're doing some wholesale. So, I mean, I find that you can do just as well in, plenty of other, like beauty. There's so many beauty products to look for instead of, unless you're really wanting to get into grocery. There's a couple other categories that'll do just as well. Health and household and beauty have, the ranks are awesome on a lot of products. They sell fast, and you can normally find some higher margins if you do some real good digging on, the second or third search page on Google. That's what I've found.
Go-to lister.
You ever had issues with wholesalers shipping to a prep center?
No, oftentimes as long as there is a commercial address associated with the address, you'll be fine. You can potentially run into issues if you're trying to do wholesale out of your residence, whether it be an apartment, whatever, condo, house, whatever. That I have seen issues with. But prep centers, having a commercial address with a lift gate and all those sorts of things, you're not going to really have an issue.
Eric says, I sent a shipment with a product that was supposed to be polybagged. Am I going to have an issue? I mean, if it was, depending on what it is, if it's like a clothing item, then, it has a chance of getting dirty. Ideally, you have polybags and that stuff. I don't know. Does Amazon polybag if you miss it? I didn't think.
Bro, dude, back in the day, when getting started, I didn't polybag one single thing. I'm talking about thousands of units. Before a prep center was involved in everything. So it's not going to matter. Think about who's receiving on the other side of these. They're hourly employees who don't know who you are, don't care, are just for checking a box with shipments and hours and that sort of thing. So they're just going to do their thing, and then I probably don't really care. Obviously, the barcode is important, right? Because that's logistically necessary, but the bag is not really going to matter.
Yeah. Two goats. Good stuff. Good stuff. AC, you're describing to me right now. Decent products, 10 to 30 sellers, sub 5K rank, 25%, trying to stack them. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the 25% ROI, I've found I'd like to be a little higher than that. I've had plenty of stuff at like a 40% and it tanks. If you're at 40 and it tanks, could go down to 5 or even break even. You get it up to like 60 or 70 on certain things, and then the tanking, at least that, like, well, that's my experience with like certain Nike products and stuff that you find pretty easily. It's just, I guess, a lot of things that you can find like super easy, right? If it's like page 2 of a site-wide sale in a certain
Mhm.
category, it's gonna probably drop in price. So you just got to make sure you have enough margin. I mean, I've sold stuff, bought stuff like Nike stuff that, on a Nike sale or whatever, it had like 80% margin, and it went all the way to break even by the time my stuff, arrived to Amazon. So it's like you want to make sure that if it was super easy to find, that you're giving yourself a little more than 25%. But yeah, yeah, those fast moving products are what I like to go after. But profits, got to have them.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to vary, right? There's no one size fits all answer with a lot of this stuff, right? So again, the barrier of entry is a big indicator in terms of what sorts of margins you can accept. Obviously, velocity has to do with that as well, right? Something that sells thousands of times, well, maybe you're going to accept a 7-8% margin, right? Or like a 15-17% ROI, something like that, right? In my perspective, it's not necessarily how much it sells or what it sells for. It's a combination of both, right? So if you take how much you expect to sell something each and every time you sell it and multiply it by the expected quantity per month, you're going to get like a valuation of that product, like a monthly valuation, right? So that is a good common denominator that you can utilize to compare products A, B, and C, right? So if you have one product that sells maybe 200 times at $3 per unit, you have a second product over here that sells maybe 300 times at $2 per unit. I think that I said the same, maybe 300 times at 2 or like 300 at 3, right? You can use sort of that multiplication, the valuation of the product to compare all sorts of different products. Some that sell a lot for a little profit, some that sell a little for a lot profit, and you can use that to kind of identify. And then Alex was talking about, obviously it's important to really have perspective in terms of where you get it, right? I always like to say those sort of Nike on sale products are like window shopping, right? So everyone, they're big attention seekers, attention grabbers. So you have to really hedge your bet. You have to bake a lot more room for error in those sorts of products because naturally more people are seeing them, right? More people are going to come onto the listing, supply is going to increase, and the demand's not necessarily going to change. And so if your expected margins maybe 12 or 15%, well, you're going to have to at least 2 or 3 or 4x of that margin to account for the increased supply into the market, just to make sure you're protected in the long run.
Yep, yep, good stuff. What do you think, Garrett? Every 2 weeks? No, every day.
Every day, every day, every day, every day. It doesn't
Got
make sense not to do that, right? Your money, until it's in your bank account, is just monopoly money, right? Amazon, whether it's your fault or not, whether it's out of your control or is, right? Amazon can shut down your account, suspend your account, whatever. Right? So if you're waiting that 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it is, to request your money, even though it's in your account reserve, it's not yours yet, right? So do your daily payouts and get money as soon as possible, because until it's in your bank account, it's not yours.
Yep. Yeah, I used to wait every 2 weeks, and I'm like, especially if you have like a weird credit card cycle, you want to have that money available, and it still comes like, you still sold stuff a week ago, maybe the money's available, but it's still waiting a week to hit that payment cycle. You can get that money tomorrow if you just request it. So that's the way to do it. What percent of your product catalog are replens? For me, it's not a huge amount of replens. I'm always looking at my products to like, see if it's worth replenning, but I'm always, looking for new stuff, replenning, and then you go back and evaluate. Or you buy something, once it sells, evaluate it a week after it's listed. How well did it do compared to what you thought it would? Is it worth replenning? Did the price drop? Is it still, a good product? And then that'll determine. But in the meantime, you're kind of always, you look at all your replens so many times before you need to start building your catalog more. So that's kind of how I go about things. You have a lot of replens.
Yeah, most of them. I mean, naturally, with a lot of the wholesale stuff, is just going to be more replenishable, just because
Yeah.
the barrier of entry is harder, the moat's bigger, stuff like that, more longevity. Is there any
Yeah.
fees for the daily payouts? No, unless you're using like a payability or something like that, which speeds up your payout time. Using Amazon's payout feature, you don't get your money any faster necessarily. You just get it when it becomes available. Which I guess you do get it faster, but it doesn't speed up the time cycles. What I mean, like there still goes to the account reserve, which is 2 or 3 weeks and all that good stuff. The daily payouts don't eliminate that account reserve purgatory period. It just gives you your money as soon as it becomes available through the account reserve process.
Yep.
I think I botched that explanation, but
Any daily payout programs for new sellers? Most of them require 10K monthly revenue. Hard for a new seller.
I don't think from in terms of Amazon, I don't think that's true. It might be. I don't know. I didn't know there was like a prerequisite for.
Well, I can't remember. That was a while ago. I don't
Yeah,
know if that was the.
I take that back. It probably is true. I just haven't. I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah. Yep.
Garrett, you mostly wholesale. Yeah, at this point, for the most part.
Can you get trademark infringement if you stick an FNSKU sticker on a label since it changes the look of the product label? Don't think so. Your Amazon needs their barcode to be able to scan and identify the product. So if you're just covering up the product's label, that's what you would expect to cover up the label, and you're going to have to do it with either a blank label or the SKU that or the sticker that Amazon provides. So you definitely want to be doing that every time. And I recommend that there's a setting in Amazon where you can either use Amazon's manufacturer barcode or use Amazon's barcode. I definitely recommend Amazon's barcode where you're putting a new one on the product each time, because there's a lot of like duplicate listings out there, and sometimes the one you scan isn't the right one that you found online, right? Might have a slightly different ASIN, but it's the same product. So then if you just let it use manufacturer barcode, it's going to be the wrong product. And it could be like a worse rank product. That's happened to me a couple times. So had to remove it from my aisle shipment, wait till I changed it to, Amazon barcodes, and then resubmitted it as a new shipment. So Garrett, are you mostly wholesale?
Yeah.
At what point did you go mostly, like you did OA at the beginning, right? You were doing a lot of.
Oh yeah, but for sure. I mean, I started with outlets, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, that sort of thing, on like weekday nights, weekends, pretty heavily, and then naturally over time, I progressed to just ordering most of my stuff from like the everyday online arbitrage sites, mainly the ones that really accounted for the volume that we needed. Right. So obviously, I talk about that ease of purchase piece a lot. That's always been huge for us. And then within the last probably 2 or 3 months, we really pushed the needle towards 100% wholesale, and very close to that at this point.
Do you have some VAs working on the wholesale side?
No. I mean, we have a very few we have like 3 to 5 accounts that we purchase from, but those accounts we go pretty deep in. Orders are pretty heavy, deep for specific SKUs. Yeah, I mean, you don't need tens and tens of accounts to really do some damage with wholesale. You just need the right accounts with the right people, the right relationships, obviously the right pricing. But once you secure those couple good accounts that you can presumably order from for months and months and months, then you're off to the races.
That's pretty awesome. How many hours do you source per day for OA? Depends. I have 2 VAs for me that both source. So certain days I'll source anywhere from 2 to 6 hours. Some days I don't source at all, especially if the VAs find me some good leads. So if you're like, don't have any VAs, you don't plan on getting any VAs, and you want to get your spend goal up, you got to be putting in the hours. I was sourcing at one point, daily for probably 4 to 6 hours just to really learn like the Keepa charts and understand what products are good, try to find, as many brands that look decent as possible, start stacking those up. So at the beginning, you got to be putting in the hours, or you're not going to learn really what makes a good product or what makes a good buy. And then you're going to have a lot of tanking, you're going to have a lot of bad inventory, and it's going to slow growth, that much quicker. So that's like probably the most important thing for beginners is get their knowledge up of sourcing, and then the rest will kind of come after that.
Yeah, I mean, so in the beginning, you definitely have to cast a very wide net, right? You're sourcing the value of the time you put in sourcing exponentially grows as you get more skilled, as you gain more experience, as you just have more time in the business, etc. Right? If you think about it, sort of like a lopsided triangle, right, with the big side and it kind of goes down, right? This is the beginning area where you put on a lot of time, but the value of that time is very, very small. However, as you progress, you learn about competitive sellers that have adjacent products. You learn about the specific sources that you do well with. You learn about specific brands that have been successful. You can really double down and refine the way in which you are sourcing, right? So you have other teams, call it, of other sellers where their teams are finding products, and you can just leverage their work and map it back to a supplier. So with those three sort of methodologies, the value of your time gets a lot more exponentially increased. But that doesn't come without the time, right? That doesn't come without the effort. That
Yep.
doesn't come without the networking, all these sorts of things. As you grow, may get more successful, you find competitive sellers that are operating in the same niches, buying from the same sorts of suppliers and sources and sites and things like that. Because the most efficient way to source is always going to be reverse sourcing for people that have already done the work, right? I can go through and I can qualify hundreds of products in another storefront very, very quickly and efficiently. That's always going to be more efficiently and more efficient and more valuable than if I'm going through like Costco's website product by product by product. However, if I can find sellers who I know are buying and selling from Costco, going through their store and mapping it back to Costco is always going to be more efficient. So developing a sub catalog of those sorts of sellers is going to be very beneficial. Developing the brands that you like is going to be very beneficial. And most importantly, developing the sites that don't cancel, that you can order and kind of identify how you can get the volume you need, that's also going to be very, very beneficial. And so the three of those, the combination of those three, that increases the value of your time so much as you continue to grow.
Yep. I do 100K a month and have an old account. Still, daily payouts is not available on my account.
Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe call seller support and ask them about it. I honestly, I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah, you should be able to get it. I mean, a lot of like
I didn't actually know that was a thing that not everyone had, to be honest. Like I thought that was just like an update Amazon did and went out across the board.
I thought maybe like newer sellers didn't have access to like daily payouts till you hit a threshold, but it must, yeah, it's definitely reach out to seller support and see if they can offer
Yeah.
some, or just turn
So
it on.
Chris, so like I said, go ahead. My bad.
No, go ahead. I
Uh,
wasn't saying
so
much.
like I was saying, so payability is a service where they're essentially where you pay them for your future payouts, right? So if I sell $1,000 today, right? Ordinarily, I sell that $1,000, those products get delivered, and then about 3 to 5 days, a week later, after all of those products get delivered, then I get paid out for those products. However, with payability, if I sell $1,000 today, obviously Amazon gets their cut, and then payability gets a cut of those sales, and then they pay you that sale, the what's left. So if I sell that $1,000, obviously Amazon takes 250, 200, whatever that number is, and then payability is going to take 3, 5, 10%, whatever they take as their commission for then paying you out what is left of your payouts. And this is going to be like a day or two after. And so with payability, obviously they take a cut of that, but you get back the 2 or 3 weeks or whatever that account reserve period is. And so this is going to be super huge for someone who is very restricted on capital, but knows their numbers. And so you have to be able to account for the fee that payability is taking to be able to make sure there's still meat on the bone for you. Amazon's taking their cut. If you have a prep center, they take their fee. Payability takes their fee, and then you get what's left. So you have to make sure you're cognizant of all of these different buckets that are taking money out of your payout to be able to make sure that the purchase still makes sense.
Yeah, just like Venmo, instant transfer, PayPal, instant transfer, they're going to take a percentage to get you your money quicker. But if you need the money, yeah, if you're restricted on capital, then maybe it's worth it. Let's see. Any trendy or bolos we should look for? um, there's always bolos out there, man. I'm not super aware of anything. Or should I be saying these kinds of things in this chat here? Y'all are great. Miles is more of a YouTube versus explaining in detail like you and Fields. Thanks for the help. Def, appreciate it. Thanks, Chris. Or in what instances do you not have to label your products? Some of the like certain Nike products, other like well-known brands sometimes won't make you like Adidas too. I'm sure there's other like bigger name brands. Those are the couple that I had issues with, but they don't actually. Amazon will just use the manufacturer barcode, right on the box or on the package. So, sometimes, and this happened to me only a couple times, but you scan that right if you're scanning it in with your Seller Central app or whatever it is, and you list it to get it into the system. It might be like a different ASIN, and there's no way of like scanning and checking and looking at another ASIN unless you're manually adding it from the computer. And then when you scan the barcode, it's not going to know the same. It's not going to know. It's going to be matched to a different ASIN. So using Amazon's barcode and printing out every single one is just going to prevent that from happening. So that's why I do it. I think everyone else should probably do the same. You go through a few more labels, but it's worth not having, because I had an Adidas shoe that happened to, and I shipped in 10 of them, and it was like $140 like hiking boot. And then I sent it in, and it was the wrong product. So I got a bunch of returns, and it was like a really slow moving, like a 200K rank or something. And I had to liquidate everything, and I lost like, $600-700. It was just a bad situation. So that's when I was like, okay, I need to switch to Amazon labels.
On Keeper, what is the rank display? So it could be two different things. So mainly, it's just like a glitch in the data, which provides an opportunity if you know what to look for, right? So Keeper Product Finder allows you to pinpoint those particular products, right? Products without a sales rank given a particular time. So if you identify and look for those, with those goggles, you can identify products that most sellers, if not all sellers, or some sellers are skipping out on, right? Everyone that's using like a tactical arbitrage that's searching within certain sales rank parameters, like 0 to 50,000, whatever it is, 25,000 tops, 100,000. Anyone that sets a sales rank parameter is skipping over products without a sales rank, right? It acts as like a null value. Benefit of that is they're missing out on these opportunities. And so when you're sourcing products without a sales rank, your objective then is to validate that the products are still selling, right? You can do that with, the increase in the ratings or reviews number line. So in theory, the ratings or reviews are still increasing. Whether the product has a sales rank or not, the product is still selling. So that's a huge opportunity in terms of, adding complexity to the way you source, adding a moat around your products. And that's just going to add another layer, another niche in which you can be sourcing and finding opportunity that some people are just not looking for.
Gary, you have don't you have a YouTube video explaining how to keep a product finder, how to at least decipher the no rank and sort by them and stuff?
Yeah, so I have a bunch of videos on my channel that go through all sorts of different ways you can use Keep a Product Finder. So anyone in here that's interested in more Keep a Product Finder stuff, go check them out for sure.
Yeah, I've watched them. They're pretty good breakdowns. I try to source with Keep a Product Finder at least a couple times a week. There's just, especially when I don't know if you've ever like exported a Keepa, seller storefront, and then you paste it in and just search, with your criteria that way.
You can do several sellers too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll pick like highlight the historic prime, and then I'll get like 300 sellers, and I'll just go 50 at a time and keep looking.
What's the best way to source for buying away leads to source? So the best way to source is going to be the most efficient way, which is going to be reverse product sourcing or reverse sourcing, right? If you can, and we kind of touched on this in the beginning, you can identify products or sellers with adjacent products. And what we mean by that is, so if I have a product A that's very profitable Adjacent products would be same brand, same niche, same supplier, anything that's one layer out on the onion, right? And so those sorts of products are what we deem as adjacent. The next best product is always going to be products that are close by, same brand, same category, same flavor, different colors, variations, whatever. And so a lot of times we can use sellers that are selling a one particular product to find the next within that source, brand, site, etc. Right? And so the biggest benefit of reverse sourcing, it allows us to be super efficient, especially with SellerAmp and the way it's set up. You can qualify hundreds of products within a seller very, very quickly, a lot quicker than I use the Costco example, right? If I'm looking to source from Costco's, I'm not going to go one by one on Costco and map them back to Amazon each and every time. That's so slow, right? Because when I'm on Costco, I don't know the sales rank, I don't know the buy box, I don't know the competition, don't know any of these things. However, if I can identify sellers that I know are sourcing from Costco, use their stores as sort of a cheat sheet, that qualification process is a lot quicker. I can see in an instant if the buy box is going down, if the sales rank is too low, if there's too much competition for a given sales rank. I can make all of these distinctions very quickly, which allows me to be a lot more efficient with the way I'm sourcing. Efficiency leads to money. The more efficient I become with sourcing, the better sourcer I become, the more money I make in the long term. And so every time you're sourcing, that's why Keep a Product Finder is great, allows us to look at products in a different lens, in a different scope, allows us to be more efficient and in turn be a lot more valued with our time. So anything you can do to speed up the decisions with sourcing it just allows you to make so much more money.
Yeah, just to add to that, a lot of people probably manual source and they don't find anything, or they even look at a ton of products that aren't even listed on Amazon, and then it gets frustrating, and you just get bored of it real quick. But you reverse sourcing that leads to manual sourcing is probably the most efficient way. Like you said, you find a storefront that has a couple products from a specific website, or a brand that this website has 100 of that brand's products. And then if they happen to be running a sale, then all of a sudden you can use that to be more efficient and kind of channel your sourcing when you're manually sourcing on a specific website, not just blindly looking at the clearance section. So that's, yeah, efficiency is going to get you a lot more products quicker.
I don't know if I pinned that or not. I meant to pin it. I don't know if it worked.
Couple there. Not sure of a pin, but it's how do you pin stuff on here?
I don't know.
There's a star button. You think that'll work?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I starred them. We'll see if that does anything.
The reason why I put that, if anyone's in here wants to help me out, we recently partnered with a brand in an exclusive deal to kind of boost their Amazon presence. So if you want to go buy a bag of coffee, helps me out a bunch, helps the sales rank out, I would appreciate it greatly. If we're providing any sort of value, I would appreciate it.
Have to get an IP complaint off a listing, then send them the invoice, and you're allowed back on the listing. Does this mean you can go back and sell the listing without them complaining again? As far as I know, that seems about right. I mean, if you got approved by, the IP complaint was taken off and you're good to go, then you should be able to keep selling. If you get IP complained again, then it's probably a different reason, or the product got recertificate, some kind of certification or something. It's a different issue, most likely. It's not going to be the same issue.
Oh, I think it split up the line. Chris, that was so I recently partnered with a coffee brand, a local multi-million-dollar coffee brand. Their Amazon presence was pretty not so good. So we partnered with them, revamped the photos, revamped the title, descriptions, bullet points, and everything. And we're trying to really boost the sales rank. So if you want to help me out, go buy a bag of coffee. It's $16. I would appreciate it a lot.
I saw the changes on Alex. Looks pretty sweet now.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Just today alone, the sales rank went from 123 to 23,000.
Whoa.
So yeah, we're making progress.
Yeah. What's the goal, to get it like sub 10K, sub 5K?
Yeah, I mean, I want to turn it into $100,000 a month brand for show. And it's crazy because in the ground coffee space, there's $26 million of revenue each and every month. So in
Shoot.
my perspective, if we can take just like a 0.5% of that, it's
Yeah.
like $200,000 a month in revenue.
I'm sure like so many coffee is probably a large chunk of like the top 10 rank, 10K rank in grocery.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously super competitive, but I was looking through a lot of the listings aren't very good, so I think we have a chance.
Yeah, yeah.
I tried green coffee, private label, failed miserably. Yeah. So the benefit we have here is the brand already exists, manufacturing already exists. There's not any upfront cost. It's just like a royalty equity split sort of deal. They're already doing things, and so all the logistics are in place. We're just kind of owning the Amazon side of things. So it's zero risk. We're just kind of more so curious to see what sort of movement we can generate with better pictures, better listings, better PPC campaigns, better bullets, really just improving the overall structure of their procedures, their strategy, to see how good we can get it. I think we can get it pretty good with just better and more informed decision making and strategies. But we will see. It'll be interesting for sure.
How long have you taken that over, or how long ago did you take it over?
So today was the first day like all the PPC has been live and everything. So today
Oh,
was the first day. In terms of like the listing building and stuff, that's been taking like weeks. Because we had someone doing all the Photoshop and all the photo editing and stuff, all the copyright, the title, the bullet points, everything. We actually worked with them to design a new bag too, which took a while. So it's been a long process, but a lot of it was just like back end stuff in terms of revamping, developing all the back end stuff. But we'll see. It'll be interesting over the next couple of weeks to see how low we can get it,
definitely.
especially with the power of social media. A lot of you guys are super helpful.
That's awesome. All right, we'll probably go another 5 to 10 minutes. We'll see if there's any more questions you guys have. Drop them in the comments. Maybe that's all the questions. Oh, Garrett, have you ever
Have you
said
ever sourced from a cash carry? No, I haven't. Have not. It wouldn't really. So we have our prep centers in Massachusetts, so it wouldn't really make sense because I'd have to drive it all the way up there because I'm in Pennsylvania. But I think I know a ton of people that who is it? We had someone on the podcast at one point who crushed it with cash and carry stuff. I think it was Joe Marr. I'm pretty sure he crushes it with cash and carry. I'm fairly certain he does. So there's money in it. There's money everywhere. That's the thing. Like there's no one size fits all way to win with this sort of stuff. There's tons and tons and tons of ways to succeed. You just kind of gotta find your comfort zone, find your niche, find your competitive advantage, and double down on it. Right?
Yep.
Can anyone see my questions? I saw that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen any other ones from you, Michael. So maybe try posting one or two more. Let's see if this shows up. Why are listings open to sellers when the brand or brand watchdog can kick you off the listing? I'm not really sure why, like if they're gonna do an IP complaint, there's certain brands that are the only ones on the listing, and then there's other brands where they allow sellers but then give you IP complaints. I don't know if you have an explanation why that is that way, but I mean, you can look at the Kiba chart to understand if there's, if you see a big drop off in sellers, that they might have IP complained in the past. IP alert, there's softwares out there that'll tell you if it's a good buy or bad buy. So that's what you got to use basically.
And there's also centers, and I have experience with this. There's also products where they're selling the product, but they also are willing to allow other people to sell it as well, right? I think I tweeted a couple days ago. We just spent $40,000 on a PO where the brand's actually on the listing. However, they're sharing the buy box in a way that allows a lot more room for other sellers. And at that velocity, it makes a ton of sense. But and it's also brand direct. So there's no really room for IP complaints because we get a strength from the brand.
Yep.
So in that scenario, it made sense. But like Alex was saying, there's other scenarios where if there's only one or two sellers on it for the lifespan of the product listing, that doesn't make sense. You're going to get kicked off, or it's very risky to do so. There's other listings where Alex was talking about where that drop off is severe, right? If a product drops off, more than 50%, 60%, given a really short time frame, that's also something that you're likely not going to want to mess with. But not to completely turn away from every single listing where the brand is on it, right? Because like I just said, we're crushing it with a particular product where the brand is on it.
Yeah, go look at the buy box statistics, and if you see that the brand is sharing with a bunch of other OA sellers or just sellers in general, start with a test buy if you're not super comfortable with that and see how it goes. I've sold plenty of products where the brand is, even if it's like a small brand, like they only have 20% of the buy box share, maybe they just aren't in stock as much, and you're still getting it at a major retail website. Sold plenty of products that way where the brand is just okay with other sellers. And again, maybe they're more focused on their own website selling and they don't care as much on Amazon. It's another revenue stream, or another channel to promote their product, but they're not super focused on the Amazon side. So there's definitely plenty of products. Just use the Keepa data to tell you whether or not it's worth buying. And if you are still skeptical, like I said, do a test buy and see if you will get some of that buy box share. And that should hopefully give you some confidence in those types of listings. Jack says, can you ship two products with different expiration dates in the same box to Amazon FBA? For example, two different beauty products.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but I wouldn't waste your time. I would just pick the later one and go with it, or the earlier one, I would say.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. If you got, 10 of the same product and three of them are a month earlier expiration, just put all of them at that month earlier, because it's not going to make a difference. But
yeah, I mean, it's not expiration dates are not that serious, especially when they're years out, right? A month or 2 months or a year is not going to make any difference. Now, what you don't want to be doing is messing with, the time frames that Amazon restricts. I think grocery is like 6 months. Topical is, or actually, topical is 6 months. I think grocery may be, I don't know, whatever. They're in TOS, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. You don't want to start to like inch close to those dates, but if they're years out or even months out past the termination dates, you're fine.
And if you are like getting close to that expiration date, just merchant fulfill it, FBM, and you can probably sell it quickly before it expires and give the customer some time to use it before it actually hits the expiration date. What's annoying is when you do buy grocery from certain sites and it was probably like a sale item, and then they show up and it expires in like 2 weeks. They're like, well, can't send it in, probably can't sell it FBM because it'll expire a week after they get it, and they're not going to like that. So, but just return those.
You're working with local wholesalers, so not necessarily, but I mean, it works super well. I mean, it's just like kind of what we talked about in the beginning, right? Especially if you're working with suppliers and distribution companies, etc., use sort of like that 3-phrase keyword approach: category, volume identifier, and region, state, city, whatever, and you'll find infinite amounts of leads to call and reach out to. And it doesn't work any different, right? Because wherever they're located, they're just going to ship to the warehouse or your prep center, wherever, and it's going to work out. In terms of if they're super local and you're willing to prep them, right? We know some people that actually go pick up the products, prep them themselves, and do it that way. That works. But I mean, at this point, I got no time to start touching products. Everything is done outsourced, and that's how I like it.
Yep. Jack says, ask the wrong question. Two different ASINs with two different expiration dates in the same box. Well, it's not the box that gets the expiration date, it's the individual product. So when you're sending the shipment in through Inventory Lab or Seller Central, you have to put the expiration date for each ASIN. So they can all be different, and then you put them in the same box. They know when they scan the barcode what the expiration date that you put in is, so you won't run into any issues there.
No, so IP complaints are different than authenticities. IP complaints are like uh you selling a product that you're ineligible to sell, right? You don't have authority to sell. Authenticities, if you submit your invoice and it's legit and receipt and everything, then you'll win every single time. But with IP complaints, an invoice isn't necessarily going to cut it, right? That's the brand saying, well, we don't want you selling this product. Our brand's TOS says you can't be reselling this product, and this is an IP complaint saying such. So those are kind of two different scenarios. Authenticities are when like a customer complains about the legitimacy of your product. You can beat those all the time with the receipts and invoices, whatever you have from the supplier, that will work. IP complaints, on the other hand, are tend to be probably a little bit more permanent, but they're much more avoidable if you know what to look for inside the data, right? Those severe drop-offs that we're talking about, one or two sellers on the listing like we were talking about, any of those, obvious SellerAmp has an identifier, IP Alert has an identifier. There's
Yep.
plenty of ways to be alerted of an IP complaint product, and plenty of ways to avoid those specific scenarios.
We'll do one or two more questions here. Do you guys use Wholesale Central for their distributors? Nextdeal, Palfly, this is all you.
Nah, so just find them yourself. I don't think those are probably going to be pretty saturated. I know Palletfly is not great. I don't know what Nextdeal is. Wholesale Central is going to probably give you a bunch of bozo suppliers. Just find your own, right? Use Google if you're looking for suppliers, category, volume identifier, bulk, wholesale, vendor, supplier, etc., and then your location identifier. On the brand side, start with a product on Amazon, reverse them back or map them back to a specific brand, and you're good to go. Right. So with the brand procedure, qualify a product up front based on obviously Amazon being off the product, number of sellers, buy box, competition, stability, all these sorts of things. Then map them back to the brand. Right. If I have a product that I like to sell that I want to sell, I just go find their website, go to the contact us, reach out to them with an email, phone call, whatever, find some sort of sales rep you can talk to, and just really ask to open up an account. And if you could do that 100 times, 500 times, 1,000 times over the course of months, you'll be successful. And that's a promise.
I think that's a good one to end on. Thanks for everybody joining the stream today. Go follow Garrett on all the stuff here. He's got his YouTube pinned his name. All Out Amazon on Instagram, Twitter, all the stuff. Check out my channel. Watch all our YouTube videos. We've got a lot of good content there. Check out the coffee Garrett tagged. I don't know if it's pinned or not, but hopefully you're able to find the link in the comments. Go support him there, and we'll see you guys in one of the next streams.
I appreciate that, my dude.
Yep. See you later.